Good evening. I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting tonight, July 24th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. to order. Can the clerk, Crystal, call the roll call?
President Rosick?
Yes.
Trustee David Armento?
Absent. Excused.
Dan Wickland?
Here.
Sangeeta Patel?
Here.
Leah Blankenship?
Here.
Tim Hansman?
Here.
Therese Klein?
Here.
Barbara Kylie Miller? Here. Eric Kudo?
Absent. Thank you. Has this meeting been publicly noticed?
It has.
Great. First agenda item for tonight is the approval of the June 26th, 2018 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I gave Crystal,
Commissioner Miley. Barbara Kylie Miller. Kylie Miller. I have to remember this.
I gave Crystal a copy with my edits on little typos and things. The only substantial one is on page 2, item number 6, in that third paragraph, where I asked what a radio is, and we should insert after that as it relates to this application.
What is a radio? Very good. Thank you so much.
And then there's some little small things.
Okay. Do we need to say those?
No, they're mostly grammatical things.
Any other discussion? With that, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 6-0, 7-0. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Before we go on to the next agenda item, I just want to do a reminder for meeting decorum and the proceedings. We do have a new commissioner tonight. Welcome, Ms. Patel, Commissioner Patel. And also just as a reminder for the current commissioners that have been here and for the public. So when we open it up for public comment and when we discuss in general, please address the chair with your comments and not audience members directly. If you have a question, I'll be glad to get the appropriate answer, but at this point there's not supposed to be any crosstalk. So if you can just address the chair and then we can proceed with any questions and getting answers for you. With that, we will move on to agenda item number 5. Consider further consideration of conditional use application and parking special exception for a proposed early learning center daycare at commercial property 4114 North Oakland Avenue. I would like to say that I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but we did not get the information needed by Friday, which was the traffic circulation study. Per our staff and our requirements to put it into the public packet. So if for any reason, there's a couple things we can do tonight. If you as a commissioner feel that you did not have enough time to properly digest the information and ask the questions you needed to ask, you have every right to defer the item until the following agenda. Or if you'd like, as a commissioner, to talk about it and further discuss and ask some questions tonight, we can move forward with that agenda item in a motion and then discuss it. And at that time, if you still feel you do not have enough information or you needed to ask further questions, we can table the matter. A motion can be made to table the matter until the following meeting in order for staff to gather the answers to the questions that you may have. Or we can make a motion, approve or deny the application tonight. So I just wanted to let the commissioners know that those 3 choices. And again, I will wait for a motion and a second, but if you feel you don't have time, you may want to make that motion. So it's really up to you. Commissioner Whitcomb.
So we have to make a motion to actually continue with it as well? Is that what you said?
We usually make a motion, a second, and discuss. Is that correct?
We have a motion to approve, deny it, or a motion, correct?
Well, it's on the agenda, so someone's free to make a motion to approve, someone's free to make a motion to deny, someone's free to make a motion to return the matter of communication evidence. So it's 10 number of things.
Would you prefer to have discussion first?
I assume we have a lot of discussion to have on this, so I think that might be better.
Okay.
That's why I'm
We can
asking.
do that, right? Okay. So we will go on with discussion then. I'll open it up to the commissioners if you have any questions or would like to voice any concerns or opportunities. Does our planning director want to say a few
I can
things?
also introduce the item
Thank you.
for the benefit of the commissioners as well as those in the audience. So the packet was published on Friday prior to receiving some of the information that you requested, so I'll read the memo that was published on Friday, but then I may also go off script as it were to just to give you an update of what's happened today as well. So in terms of a project overview, on June 26th last month, the Planning Commission reviewed the conditional use permit application and special exception application submitted by Nicholas Plummer doing business as Olivia Inc. to operate a 124-student Spanish immersion early learning center at 4114 North Oakland Avenue. A public hearing was also held at that time to allow for comments from interested persons. Based on that initial review and public comment, which were detailed in the draft minutes of June 26th meeting, which the Plan Commission voted to table the item for further information and discussion. The primary areas of debate surrounded traffic circulation and parking. The applicant was requested to provide additional information to the Plan Commission to verify that adequate measures have been made or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The applicant has subsequent conversations with staff, including the village engineer, to determine the required scope of information necessary to confirm that traffic circulation could be adequately addressed within the proposed operations. The village engineer requested submission of a staffing study, as he called it. The results of that study were expected to be received by July 20th, or at the time of publication for the Plan Commission packet had not been received by the village. As soon as the village received that study, the report was forwarded to the village engineer for comment, and the Plan Commission packet was amended. That happened earlier this morning. The applicant did provide a proposed pickup and drop-off approach plan with details regarding the maximum number of students at the facility expected numbers of cars per maximum student capacity, and average drop-off and pickup times to better understand the expectations and operations. That plan details the use of 11 to 12 parking spaces, including 19 nearby on-street spaces on Oakland, Wood, and Jarvis. A plan of off-street parking approaches was also provided, including two approaches, one using existing on-site parking in relation to expected public transit and carpool use, and one that would allow utilization of the nearby parking structure subject to village modification of its existing agreement. Staff has also received additional comments from concerned residents that have been included within this packet for the Planning Commission's consideration. We also received several of them today as well that were also forwarded. Just as a reminder, review and approval per code, the village planning commission shall review the site, existing and proposed structures, architectural plans, neighboring uses, parking areas, driveway locations, highway access, traffic generation and circulation, drainage, sewerage, and water systems, and proposed operations. Conditions such as landscape and architectural design, type of construction commencement and completion dates, sureties, lighting, fencing, planting, screening, operational control, hours of operation, improved traffic circulation, deed restrictions, highway access restrictions, increased yards, or parking requirements may be required by the Village Plan Commission upon its finding that these are necessary to fulfill the purpose and intent of the chapter. Furthermore, the chapter indicates 7 reasons why conditional use permits should be reviewed. So no conditional use permit shall be authorized by the Planning Commission unless such commission finds that 1, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. The conditional use will not be injurious to the use or enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values of the neighborhood. 3, the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal or orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district or have a negative impact on the diversity and type of business located in the district. 4, adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and or necessary facilities have been or are being provided. 5, adequate measures have been taken or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. 6, the conditional use shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may, in each instance, be modified by the Board of Trustees pursuant to the recommendations of the Planning Commission. And lastly, 7, the conditional use is in accordance with and subject to all other applicable laws and regulations. Staff provided brief comments. At the time of publication, staff had yet to receive the requested traffic circulation engineering analysis. Staff will relay that to the village engineer request for review and recommendation, which I did this morning. The results of unprovided reports and response recommendations were provided to the Planning Commission upon receipt. That was provided this afternoon as well. The Planning Commission may choose to take up the conditional use and special exception application separately. However, understand that approval of both would eventually be required for occupancy. As I mentioned, this traffic study was provided this morning and was provided to the village engineer, Mustafa Amir of Clark Dietz. He had submitted a 12-point response, which I also shared with the applicant. The most relevant, perhaps, for the sake of starting discussion, is by number 11 and 12, perhaps. So he described the AM and PM occupancy in both the study scenario and his scenario, as well as traffic generation under two scenarios. He said either way, this means that under average/typical scenarios, available parking is probably just enough to cover the morning rush, assuming that parents will use the entire blocks of Wood and Jarvis to find parking and walk the few hundred feet to drop off kids. Secondly, under both average and high demand scenarios, the evening pickup rush will fully use up all available parking in the area. It looks like the estimates for evening rush show that things will be tight, and a lot will have to depend on parent behavior during the stressful time of pick up the child to get home for dinner. There's so much you can expect a parent to do to find parking. They have to drive east on Wood, turn south on Murray, and drive west on Jarvis, and then try to park on one or other side of the street there. There will be others who do the opposite. I can see a lot of turnarounds at random driveways to get a little closer to daycare on either street. I see this as a significant negative for residents on Wood and Jarvis, something that no study is designed to capture. That's why we're here. And those are just his comments, which I promised to provide to the planning commission prior to the meeting, so I just wanted to read over those briefly. But in general, based on the revised application and that study and his comments is what we're here tonight to discuss.
Thank you. Do you have any concerns you want to state up front?
Nothing specific, no.
All right. So I will open up the floor to the commissioners to ask any questions.
So many.
Eileen Miller.
Well, in our report to the Plan Commission dated Friday, talking about off-street parking encroachments, one idea or suggestion was allow utilization of the nearby parking structure, meaning the one between Metro Market and Mosaic, subject to village modifications, existing agreement. So, does that mean the agreement with the owner of the structure? Because I know at the time of construction, the village had an agreement with the developer for X number of public parking spaces, and with various times, some floors available for the grocery shoppers, I think some available for the Mosaic tenants or customers. So I'm not quite sure what the village would be asked to modify and with whom.
Sure, so the village does have an agreement with the owner of the structure that allows us utilization of the fourth floor. We can sell overnight parking passes for that, permits for that structure, for that level of that floor currently under the current agreement. Those are from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and then during the day there's 2-hour parking. So if an employee wanted to park there during the day, currently under the current restrictions that we have with the owner, only 2 hours is allowed. So if the village were to want to modify that, we would need to approach the owner of the structure to modify that current agreement to either allow for larger windows of parking or to be able to sell daytime permit passes.
So where do employees of other businesses park, whether it's Metro Market employees or the smaller businesses?
Just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an observation, but I'm guessing residential streets that aren't assigned for you.
We're not allowed to consider as available parking.
Can you just,
Yeah, so the code requires that 25% of required parking spaces be handled on site, and those are specifically noted to be, off-street parking spaces. The other 75% need to be located within 400 feet of the business or building. Nothing specifically states that it can't be on street, but I would suggest logic would tell us that it can't, because you can't guarantee those spots be available for residents park there or something else. So in terms of it being available, I would suggest that on-street parking is not a given. So my interpretation is, and I believe past practice has been that the planning commission has required those other 75% to be off-site as well, or not on the street. But that does, we do also have a special exception clause in our code. So if the planning commission finds that other reasons exist to not require the full amount, the planning commission could give a special exception. So in both cases tonight, we do have applications for that, but my understanding is the off-street should not be considered as available for that, to fulfill that need.
And I know President Rosick, you can't speak for the whole board, but, I mean, has this issue ever come up before about designating some of those public spaces in the parking structure for a particular business? And kind of what's been the thought about that?
So it has. So there was a business applicant that came before Plan Commission for a parking waiver or special exception. And at that time, the structure had just been built, and the board was, the sentiment was that we did not want to have employees parking all day in our public spaces. However, it also has come up recently internally with the department and the village manager talking about, once we get a better handle of how it's utilized, if it's not being utilized, is it something we want to offer the businesses to bring to the board to say, do we want it to be for employee parking? Do we want to rent it out, make some income, and but certainly not designate it for free, but if we wanted to make income, if no one's using it, publicly to shop. So there is the possibility